Hey everyone, welcome back to Low Budget Logistics, your logistics and supply chain explainer. Today we're going to be really digging into some of the deeper topics around logistics and supply chain. We're going to be explaining some really deep concepts, at least this week. First thing I want to note, I mentioned it last week. I've been invited to join a panel. It's a virtual event, so you can join up too. It's a pros who know with ProShip. So I hope you all join. The link will be in the description down below, and like I said, hope you join. So today we're going to be talking about Omnichannel. Now, Omnichannel is an interesting topic. It's an interesting thing. It was extremely buzzy a couple years ago, like pre-pandemic. Some things have sort of changed since then, but it's still out there. I hear a word of it every now and again, but it's not as de rigueur as it used to be. So without further ado, let's sort of explain it. So look at my handy chart over here. As you can probably guess from the name Omnichannel, it means hitting every channel. It's a bit of a misnomer because it's not really every channel, because wholesale is not really included, and that is a sales channel that you should be aware of. But what Omnichannel means as a thing is getting a shipment to a customer in the best way, and really best in terms of transportation costs. And so really it is trying to source a shipment to a customer from the closest location possible. Now, in a typical e-commerce environment, you're going to have maybe 1 to 2 distribution centers staged across the country, maybe 3 if you're large, but you're going to have really those large nodes that are going to be fulfilling e-commerce orders, or you might be filling out wholesale, retail orders, those types of things. But basically what's going to happen is that stuff is going to come into those areas bulk, right, on freight, LTL, FTL, and then they'll be broken down and then shipped out, maybe freight out again to a wholesale or a retail store that might have a dock, or you can be doing e-commerce out of those places. But you have a lot more infrastructure in those areas that you might in a retail store environment. But the problem, the kicker is that most people find is that they may have inventory at these store locations that is trapped, right? You can't normally use a retail store's inventory to fulfill e-commerce orders. There's a lot of reasons for that, but generally speaking, it's because those systems are separate. And so when an allocator is planning for inventory and they're putting inventory in different areas, there is some level of like excess inventory that they're having to either buy or store or what have you, because for lack of a better reason, they're going to be trapped because, right, the store needs to be able to sell their inventory out of their location, and e-commerce needs a whole different batch because it's a different sort of beast entirely, and the systems are different. So Omnichannel aims to bridge that gap and say, hey, everything in a store that has that company's employee can be e-commerce. It can go out for whatever reason. And the nice thing about it is that, like a retail store, if someone walks in and says, hey, I want to buy this particular item, the retail store can go, hey, I actually don't have that here, but I can ship it to your house for free. Just, let me do that and I can process that order. And so it is a great way to sort of meet customers' expectations, maybe exceed customers' expectations. But it really kind of it becomes a bit of a bear. And there's really better ways to do this thing. I'm not a big fan of Omnichannel, but that's sort of what it is. And right, it makes sense. It's very logical. You would want to have all of your inventory be available to sell to any customer all the time. But that's a problem. Typically when you're doing this, a retail store employee is not an e-commerce pick, pack person, right? They're there to sell your products to your customers. You have a retail store employee because they're good at customer service. They're good at being in front of people. They sort of know how to sell things to people. And on the other side, an e-commerce, right? Someone working in an e-commerce warehouse is picking and packing. They're good at those things. They may understand your systems, at least your inventory systems, a lot better. They're probably more knowledgeable about the nuances of each individual SKU that you may have than your retail stores might be. But I understand the drive to open up your inventory and to be able to sell all things to all people at all times. I totally get it. And I also like that you're trying to break down shipping costs. That's great. I love it. But here's where it fails. It fails because the systems to create this thing are extremely expensive, and they are also extremely nuanced and extremely finicky, because a store may get slammed with orders that they may not have been expecting. So let's say you have a particular thing that for whatever reason becomes popular. And let's say it's an older item and people just want it for whatever reason. Well, there may only be one, like let's say one store in your network, and it may actually be a really small store in your network, and they have all the inventory of that item. Well, if they're going to get 100 orders placed overnight, they may not be able to facilitate those transactions in a timely basis because they have to sell their own product. Or you may not be able to provide them with the same e-commerce packaging that your e-commerce customers want, right? For their lots of reasons, right? Because a retail store, it's square footage, and each square foot costs money, and you want each square foot to be making as much money as possible. So you're only going to give them the resources that they need for the thing that you want them to do, which is sell product. Maybe they have some gift wrap, but they're probably not going to have a whole lot of shipping boxes because that stuff takes up space. Your warehouses, though, they're big. You can put a bunch of storage there. It's okay. And you can speed up the process and make that really profitable for your business by having all that scale. One of the other problems with omnichannel is that the systems to do it are extremely finicky, and getting them to work and the logic to work in the right way that you may want it to work is difficult and requires a lot of effort, and it's going to require a lot of maintenance, which is a thing people don't really want to do for a lot of reasons, but just like getting the logic right of sourcing this thing from the right spot is tough. Moving your allocations correct is difficult. There are companies that do this well. They are very large. They have a lot of investment capital available to do things like this. Amazon does it in a way. They don't have retail stores, but they do have, equitable amounts of fulfillment centers. Other companies that do it really well. Target used to be really, really high up on the list. Also, Banana Republic had a great, really, really excellent omnichannel fulfillment solution. Other places, not so much, because it's difficult to get right. So those are some of the reasons why you wouldn't want to do it. Another reason why you wouldn't necessarily, or why omnichannel wouldn't be as important now as it used to be, is that zone skipping is becoming more of a thing, and fulfilling orders becomes a bit easier. So we spoke in an earlier video about order management systems and called OMSs, and what they do for you, which is great. And one of the things that I see the world of e-commerce and parcel moving towards, is away from omnichannel and towards zone skipping. Now, zone skipping is kind of a fancy way of saying, like, I'm going to change the starting point. I'm going to do a video on zone skipping in a second. But really what it's saying is orders on this side of the world will get sourced from the nearest place. Orders from that side of the world are going to get sourced from the nearest place, which would be, right, those two hubs. That is meeting the omnichannel sort of goals, right? It's sort of sourcing things from the closest place. I'm seeing a lot more that you would be able to do some kind of zone skipping omnichannel hybrid. It's more possible, but omnichannel has it was a buzzword pre-pandemic. It is not anymore. All right, that's going to be it for omnichannel. It was a fascinating thing. It's interesting. I don't hear as much buzz about it anymore. Since the world has sort of changed in the last 2-3 years. All right, that's going to be it for today, talking about omnichannel. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want notifications, hit the little bell. Thank you so much for watching the video, and for all the subscribers. The growth in the channel has just been phenomenal. And like I said at the beginning, come join me for the Pros Who Know panel put on by ProShip, where I'll be talking a bit more about parcel and where I might see the landscape of the parcel environment moving to in the future. All that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.